Welcome to yet another episode of Applied Salesforce. This one is going to be pretty unique. Kali, VP of Sales and Service at Upquotient.com, a career transformer and an amplifier company, was asked by one of its premier customers to define holistic growth and means to achieve the same. They also requested Kali to offer a presentation to its employees. This is pretty unique in sense that Kali is directly involved in the project and he's the only one driving this. And it is also key to upquotient.com as it has already carved a niche as a leader in amplifying skills, transforming associates, helping them lead the change and inspire others. It is a big challenge though, right? But Kali, with his 20 plus years of experience across companies of varying sizes, from a Mickey Mouse company to IT behemoths, across multiple technologies, leading multiple roles, managing multiple projects, visiting and collaborating with colleagues from multiple countries and backgrounds, and transforming 1,000 plus associates within upquotient.com. All it took was to self reflect. So, buckle up and hear from Kali, the distillation of lived experience. So, this is the only infographics prepared by Kali for the presentation, where he laid out all the indispensable thoughts, techniques, traits, behavioral patterns leading to holistic growth. Okay, so the first one Kali picked was the exploratory learning. So, exploratory learning is a very simple, you'd say, a technique which allows one to sift through the content, locate the specific definition of it, read through it, comprehend it, and apply the concepts to solve the problem. So this is pretty indispensable. This is pretty essential for any associate. It could be in any industry. It could be in manufacturing industry. It could be in IT industry. I'll take an example of IT industry, which I come from. So let's assume that you are working on um a code. Okay, it could be JavaScript or any code, and you understand that in order to solve this particular challenge, you will have to sift through multiple modules or APIs. Okay, that's the first part where you try to sift through the web, locate the specific definition of the API, look at the syntax, understand what it does. That's the first part. That's about the knowledge. And second part is you look at some of those examples, how to use them. So that's the second part. And the third part is how you could actually apply the knowledge by either directly or tweaking the knowledge to accommodate and solve the problem at hand. So this skill is essential, this skill is indispensable, and this skill is one of such skills which is going to discern yourself from the crowd. And nowadays, and certainly in future, what differentiates you from others is not what you already know. Okay, it is what you can achieve, what you can learn, and how rapidly you can learn and apply these concepts to solve the problems. It could be a software related problem, it could be a problem in manufacturing field, it could be a problem in in uh, construction domain. Okay, doesn't matter, but this skill is pretty much essential. Next, what Kali wanted to explain is give and take. This concept is again pretty simple, and it is a direct distillation of experience from Kali. So I personify Kali. So from now on, I'll use I. So when I was working in the software industry in with one of the biggest IT behemoths. I was a passionate programmer, and we at offshore, right? We tend to develop complex code, and we typically collaborate with your architects, functional business, enterprise architects from onshore team, right? And they are domain experts, and we usually travel, right? So during the user acceptance test and during certain phases, I myself have visited several times. I also have helped others from the team travel, and before we travel, there used to be a customary request from the onshore team. Could you please help us with the coding? Could you please help us to beef up the team there with the coding best practices? Okay, so that is the request that comes from the onshore managers and counterparts. Okay, and since we are an expert in that, we don't hesitate, right? We gleefully accept the request, and our folks, and including myself, would prepare what is required, and we do it real time live. So not much of a preparation is required, only the outline we prepare, the framework we prepare. We travel. Okay, and we travel there, and essentially this happens during the UAT phase, where there is a quick turnaround time that is required, and fixing the bugs instantaneously. So we are good at that. We are good at technical stuff. So we prepare, and in the evenings we huddle together, and we used to run through all these. That's good. That's give, right? But what we fail is to take back that knowledge, to take back what they excel at. They excel at the domain. They excel at the functional aspects. They typically excel at discussing with the customers, collating their requirements, and drafting a beautiful HLD document, the functional design document. So we don't essentially ask them anything about it, so we fail to get back. So we fail to take the essentials from them. So that is a big mistake. I committed it. Many currently committed, but I don't want you folks to do it. So when you give them something, always make sure that you also get something from them. Okay. So they would definitely be happy about it, because it is it is what they do on a daily basis, day in and day out. They do that. So nothing much needs to be prepared. Okay, so that's the give and take thing. And the third one is about motivation. So this is again something someone we usually hear, that you have to be self motivated, stay motivated, etc. But essentially, right, from the psyche perspective, motivation is always short lived. Okay, so let's say if I am aspiring to join a kickboxing training, right? The first week I'm totally excited, high spirited, etc. The next week I'd say, okay, 5 days is too heavy on me, right? It is too taxing, so let's cut it to 3 days. um, then after a few more weeks, again 3 days seems to be pretty hard. Let's cut it down to 2 days, etc. So what happens really is there is a high spike. You say a spike initially, and eventually it drains. Yeah, the enthusiasm drains, right? So this is a natural phenomenon, right? So how do we stay motivated? One is the self discipline, that you need to bring in that rigor within your life, uh, come what may, right? So I'm going to attend it. That's one way of doing it. Second way to stay motivated is um, form a team, right? So team of like-minded people, right? So this typically happens, um, I know, even in the software development or any endeavor you take, right? So you always find a small team going together, so trying to achieve the end goal, right? So even in, if I take the software field, and You are trying to, learn something new, and what you do is you form a like-minded team and have certain goals every day. So let's say I'll be looking at this particular feature, you take up some other feature, right? So, and you work deeply individually, you work deeply, and the next day when you huddle, you share each of these. So you're learning with others and they're learning with you they used to share it, right? So this is the teaming is the key thing if you want to be self motivated and if you want to maintain the momentum, right? So teaming is essential. Okay. And you stay hungry also, because not every day your motivation is at the peak, right? So there are some days where you get into the blues, and that is where your team comes to the rescue. They pull you up, they pep up your spirits and take you along. That's a beautiful thing. Okay. So that's the teaming we this essential. And the ego, which is each one get one, again this works beautifully inside a team model. You decide upon a specific area of study, and you take upon you to do a deep dive on that area, while other members in the team picks up other concept and they do a deep dive. And the next day when you huddle, you teach them, and while you receive knowledge from others, and that includes just not the theory but also some of the implementation, right? And this is something where you make all hands count, right? And you amplify your learning, because any given day, if there are 5 members in the team, any given day, if this model is religiously followed, you have 5 new concepts being discussed and being practically demonstrated. Okay, so this is something which amplifies your learning. Then comes your, this is a progressive, I would say, progressive thought. Okay. And I often work with you know hundreds and thousands of folks you come out of college, and their usual mindset is, okay, if if I'm stuck at something, there is always help. Someone will come and solve it. I'm happy. Okay. So that's not a progressive mindset. Second thing that I often hear from someone who moves out of college is, I'm a fresher. Okay. I'm a fresher. I can't do it. That's something which ought to be shunned. And this is certainly a self-limiting thought that you need to, would say, abhor, right? You need to completely, um, you know, ward off from your thoughts. Okay. It is not going to help you. It has never helped, and it will never help you. It is only going to dent your appetite. Okay, it is only going to stop your progress. It is going to put a brake on your progress, on your growth, on your development. Okay, the self-limiting thoughts you please shun, because any company for that matter, right, when they absorb you, you would be offered some level of training, um, and the field that you are going to work in, right? So it can be any company. It can be IT company. It could be a manufacturing company. It could be a company involved in construction. Doesn't matter. Some amount of training, which could be directly applied on a day-to-day basis at work, is already being imparted to you. Okay, and the onus is on you to beef it up, to amplify it with whatever techniques that we are discussing, and prove yourself. Okay, so that's something very important, and this directly connects to the concept of no complaints, zero complaints. And this is something which you need to follow. I'm not a big advocate of complaints, and the reason is not far to seek, right? So you know um, I suggest, if you have something, right, report the whatever um, is uh, is lagging, or whatever is the gap, with some solution or suggestion. Else what happens, right? It's like throwing in the towel, right? You say that I can't do anything, it is not working, I am a fresher, I can't do anything, right? So it is going to blunt your hunger, blunt your appetite to hunt for solutions and fixing the same. You will never do that. You will complain and hope someone will fix that issue. So please don't do it. That's, I would say, that a limiting mindset. And there are, and then the sheer love, I'd say, whatever you do, make sure that you fall in love. How is that, right? So if you look at, you, reflect back on your school days, reflect back on your college days, what typically happens? How is your behavior? How did your behavior change when you typically fall in love with someone, right? You make your presence felt. You make sure that he or she looks at you, or you be available for her, him or her, every time, right? I've seen, during my days, I've seen people, my friends, waiting along the roadside, waiting at the bus stops, waiting at train stations, etc., right? So they wanted to meet them again and again and again, right? So there are some subjects, it could be in IT or any other realm or field or domain, which, no, you will not be able to fall in love immediately. Love at first sight. So you need to get involved multiple times. So let's say you're working on an application, so get involved in the application multiple times, log in into the application multiple times, look at certain scenarios, you prepare your own scenarios, look at scenarios available in the web, try to replicate it, try to improvise on them, right? So that is very essential, or else, because all these things that you enter your work, it's going to be a long term or long time process, right? It's not going to end in a month or so. So unless until you get completely involved, unless until you fall in love with what you're doing, it would be a drag every day. You drag yourself every day. It's painful. Okay, it's really painful. I don't want you folks to undergo the pain. Okay, so make sure you try hard to fall in love. Once you are in love with whatever you're doing, it's so blissful. Okay, and there are few techniques, the learning techniques. um, this i this I have been practicing, I have seen many practicing, but these are some of the uh, formal terms that I have borrowed from multiple, knowledge articles and books. So one is the diffuse mode. Okay, so this you would have known. So, you would have heard about this Pomodoro uh, technique, which says that, okay, you set an alarm for every 30 minutes, and you start reading through it. After 30 minutes, take a break of 10 minutes and then return, right? So that's that the mode. After you take a break, the time that you take for the break is called as the diffuse mode or the diffuse time. And what essentially needs to be done during that time is to recollect or revise what you learned before, right? And how you do it, you don't need to be seated. If you are seated, okay, be in a relaxed position. Or if you want to, take a stroll down your complex, apartment complex, or society, or in a park, that's also acceptable. But you know don't get into some activity which drains your energy. Keep it very light, but at the same time try to revise what's been learned the previous 30 minutes. Okay, so that's the reflection part. You try to recollect things, etc. And this is, in a way, helps you to solidify your understanding, and consolidate your learning, and it helps you to push that into your long term memory. Okay, so this usually they call it as daydream mode, and which where you help your minds to wander freely. Okay, and it also sometimes, right, you have been trying to solve some problems um, over a long time, and sometimes this also leads to solutions to some complex tricky problems. Okay, so that's the diffuse mode. And Another technique, a formal technique, is interleaving, where you mix up subjects. So the first 1 hour, two turns, you know 30 minutes you read on subject A, and then after the break you lean on some other subject. So that's how you mix. So it may or may not work for many, but that's another technique that you can. So what I usually do is to pick up a subject and then look at two different features. So if I'm developing an application or learning something new, right? So a specific feature in coding, right? I look up and then move into specific feature which involves the point and click, the customization, not the customization, the configuration aspects. That's how. So I do it. I don't really switch between diverse subjects. Okay. And then the visualization, this is something very indispensable, right out of my experience. So where, let's say, when you either work as a junior engineer, developer, etc., or when you move on to a higher level, where you are juggling multiple activities, multiple projects, there might be a need for you to ascertain so certain steps works, right? So essentially in IT, what happens is when you work as a solutions architect or a lead solutions architect, you are supposed to manage multiple projects, and the timelines, especially during the pre-sales activities, are very limited, and you will, and sometimes it warrants you to do some sort of POCs, and you are not really connected, and you are not you have not really worked on certain areas. Let's say a software developer and a software um, solutions architect working on certain application, he or she needs to connect and interact with some other application over and middleware, right? So how are you going to understand the capabilities of the middleware, the behavior, etc., right? So unless until you obviously need to read through and look at some videos, but at the same time have a sound visualization, right? Okay, so the data is being sent from this application into the middle tier. Middle tier has these all features, so this could enrich, this could transform before it gets pushed into the target system. So that's sort of visualization. In the construction also, you could actually visualize something, how actually the interiors would be designed, and the permutations and combinations of color, theme, probably the tiling, roofing, lighting, all these things could be mentally visualized, rather than designing it and or doing very lean setup, right? That takes time, that involves money, etc. But the sheer visualization could help you to zero in on few solutions, and those solutions could be exercised deeply, right? So this skill is very important. I myself had realized it and I've practiced this. And this micro projects is I would say fascinating model, which is directly related to staying yourself motivated for long, right? Teaming, staying motivated, learning something new, right? So why I said this micro project, because first thing, if you want to be motivated throughout without a purpose, right? So you wanted to read up something new, okay, and probably you use that 3 months down the line, right? Your motivation would be at the bottom, at rock bottom, I would say, because you're not going to use it, right? So use it down the line, 3 months down the line. So what is the motivation for, right? But when you work as a team, that's the first technique. And second is you think of developing some micro project which warrants the features that you intend to learn, right? So you think of something and then you start learning, because now you have a purpose, now you have a goal, right? So that will certainly pep your spirits, that would certainly push yourself into learning something new and applying it to your micro project. So this is very important. And it need not be some projects which are already available in web. There are certain applications or tools or software where you find plethora of the use cases, scenarios already available on web. Another thing is you can conceive your own ideas, your own projects, and then you know uh, learn those new features and then implement it, so that you finish your project. So the project is your brainchild, so you are accountable completing that. It's fantastic model. And the third, the one which again helps you to stay hungry, stay engaged, and stay motivated is improvisation. So it need not, it can be anything. You are getting into a new company or working on certain processes, and the process is being followed for years together. You get into it, your seniors explain you this is the process that we have been following for last 5 years. Okay, and you can very well follow the process, but at the same time make sure that you are improvising on those processes, right? So you could look at some of you could look at tweaking those processes. You could look at making it little lean and making it effective, etc. So that is where you get totally involved. You completely understand what's going on, maybe at the superficial level, also at also under the hood, and it will help you to stay completely engaged, and it will also help you to stay hungry for more. And this effective communication, again, it's not about the fluency, but it is about how you pass on the points that you wanted to communicate to others, how well, how briefly, and how you make an impact when you communicate the point to the stakeholders. And again, tailoring the communication is important. You need to understand who your stakeholders are, and tailor the content appropriately, because you may be talking to an architect, you may be talking to um, analyst, you may be talking to your customers, you may be talking to a business architect. So the key thing is to tailor, and you need to also understand what level to communicate, right? So that's again an indispensable trait, I'd say. And about the workout, again, this is pretty important because you need to stay in shape first thing. And there are certain scientific reasons why your workout is indispensable. And it essentially helps you to beef up your gray cells, I would say. And you may have heard about this HIIT, high intensity interval training. And your gray matter is going to thank you for this. And it also, scientifically proven, helps you to make lightning fast decisions, and boosting your um, brain cells. And there is also a scientific reason called this called as a BDNF protein, which typically is involved with cell repair, cognitive function, and mood regulation. So this have to be done, and it has to be religiously followed on a daily basis. And the collaboration is again something which is necessary and essential. So we spoke about the team, and getting involved in a team is vital. And there is this particular activity, right? Collaboration activity helps you to solidify your emotional quotient, and helps you to balance your temperament, because any idea that you want to sell, right, you need to package so that the other members in your team buys in, right? And they could challenge, and it is the onus is on you to defend your ideas. At the same time, when they propose some of the ideas, you may have to challenge, and the challenge has to be justified, right? And at the same time, you accept, agree if their idea is superior than yours, and all of you work as a team towards achieving that common objective. So this collaboration is again something which is indispensable. Okay, and these are some of the key traits, techniques, and behavioral patterns that I wanted to articulate, and these are distillation of my lived experience, and these would help you to amplify your skills, um, transform you, and helps you to take control of your affairs. And remember, if you don't take control of your affairs, there's someone else going to do it, right? And lead the change, and inspire the people around you, and be a pole star within the organization. Okay, and with that, I take leave, and wish you the very best in all of your endeavors. Take care. Bye bye.